Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to like and subscribe. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. Are you crazy? That was my lawyer, Donald Jenkins. They have a literally impenetrable case. There are probably a dozen witnesses, including your wife, not to mention very clear video recordings from not one, not two, but 3 separate surveillance cameras. And all this, damn it, in broad daylight. Your fingerprints and DNA are on all the weapons you used. Your motive is very well documented. It doesn't even mention that the police actually caught you red-handed and their video cameras showed you attacking him. Yeah, these are all very good points. I could understand why he thought I might be crazy if I refused the plea bargain I was being offered. I plead guilty and get 5 years with another 5 years probation, or I will be found guilty in court, and there is a chance that the judge will sentence me to 15, 20 years. On the other hand, if I were a normal, intelligent person, I probably wouldn't be in this situation at all. Firstly, it would have been better if I hadn't actually committed the crime, and if I had, I would have acted much smarter and at least tried to cover my tracks. No, I did it, and I didn't care who found out about it. Listen to me. You hired me to represent you and advise you. I'm telling you that you don't stand a chance in court. The district attorney is only offering this deal because of the backlog of court cases. By making this deal with them, you get rid of the costs and time for a trial that is not necessary. My best advice is to take the deal. You won't enjoy it. No lawyer in the world can save you from this. I can't even offer any protection. If we get to court, all I can do is sit next to you and watch the district attorney crucify you. I don't even have anything to justify my decision with. As soon as the prosecution finishes, I'll just drop my case too. I can't even call a single witness in your defense. You're finished. The only thing you can do is mitigate this disaster as much as possible by serving as little time as possible. Going to court will cost you a hell of a lot of money just to make things worse for yourself. So, lawyer, when will the trial take place? How long will it last, and how long after that before sentencing? I asked. His eyes kind of glazed over as he tried to come to terms with the fact that I just didn't care. Due to the coronavirus, the actual trial will take place in about 6 months. Before that, there will be an arraignment, a hearing on the charges, a hearing on the evidence. I'll file motions that need to be heard, and the district attorney will file motions and a few other things. All I can do is try to delay the trial, but that won't change anything. Great. You need to call my sister and tell her what my bail will be. She's going to bail me out. It won't be cheap. Not your problem. Also, send her your bills. She will definitely take care of them. He's gone. I'm sure he was thinking about doing a psychiatric evaluation on me. Perhaps there could be an admission of insanity. It suited me fine. I had no problem paying him more money for trying his best. Not that it really mattered. Oh, you might be wondering what's going on. Let me go back a couple of months. So, my name is Dan Malloy. I am 56 years old and I live with my beautiful and loving wife, Kimberly. We've been married for 25 years and we have 2 wonderful daughters, Gina and Susan. Gina is 22 years old and in her final year of college. Like me, she studies mechanical engineering. Sue is 20 years old and she is studying business administration. They plan to take over my firm when I retire. This is a small company and we are not rich in any way, but we are comfortable. We own our house. We're still making payments, but it's only a few years away. We drive decent cars, even if they are not first-class luxury cars. I have made sure that there are enough funds in my investment accounts to retire safely when I turn 65. Kimberly has been a stay-at-home mom since Gina was born. Once both children were fully settled in school, she volunteered for a while at various charities to get out of the house while the girls were at school. When Sue left for college, her volunteer hours increased to compensate for the fact that she became single. I didn't mind it and even encouraged her. This made her happy and also allowed us to attend a few more evening events. Kim and I had an amazing life when we dated, got engaged, and then got married. Having children slowed us down a bit, but it was still quite common and exciting. As the children grew up, our responsibilities increased, and we got older. Things became a little less exciting and happened a little less often. We probably did it 2 or 3 times a week. Yes, it was pretty predictable, but we both liked it. Everything collapsed on a clear autumn morning. A week before that, I went to the doctor to take some tests. For a while, I felt exhausted and kind of sluggish. I just felt like I was getting tired all the time. Kim noticed this and chased me until I gave up and made an appointment. I was depressed when I left the office. The test results have arrived. I decided that I would not return to the office that day. I needed to go somewhere and think. It was necessary to make plans and make decisions that were to take place. I also needed to think about what I was going to say to my wife and daughters. I headed to a small sports bar that I like to have a burger and some alcohol while thinking about the news. I was standing at the traffic light at the local college when I noticed my wife's car driving away. This was not a surprise. One of the things she volunteered for was college tutoring. She got her degree in English before we got married and has always loved literature. Having free time, she studied with some students on campus. What was surprising was that she wasn't alone. In fact, she wasn't even driving. Kim was sitting in the passenger seat, and some young and very big black guy was driving. I was 2 cars away from the traffic light and they didn't see me. Even from the cursory glance I took, it was quite obvious that Kim's entire attention was focused on the guy who was driving. It all seemed wrong. Since they turned onto the road in front of me and in the same direction, I decided to follow them. I made sure that there were at least 2 cars between us. It didn't matter. 5 minutes later, I watched them pull into an inexpensive motel. When they turned right to enter the motel parking lot, I turned left into the mall parking lot. I had just pulled into the parking lot on the street when I saw them get out of her car and enter the lobby of the motel. A few minutes later, I watched them walk across the balcony on the 2nd floor and enter the room. It didn't take a genius to understand that they would study anatomy rather than literature there. 2 hours later, I saw them leave the room. By this time, I had a digital camera ready. I always carry it with me because sometimes I need to take pictures of projects to document problems that arise. I had the zoom lens turned on to make sure I captured their detailed photos. He had his hand on her ass as they walked back to the lobby. This time I was able to recognize this asshole. He was a star player on the varsity football team. He was a senior this year, and scouts from every NFL team watched him at every game. In most trial drafts, he was selected in the middle or end of the 1st round. Even the most critical analysis predicted that he would never make it to the 2nd round. The guy was going to become the undisputed star of the NFL. I'm a bit obsessed with football, so I like to follow the games and the available analytics. This helps a lot during office pools and betting on games. I win a lot more than I lose. For me, this is the complete collapse of a marriage. We've discussed this a couple of times. Leave everyone else alone means something to me. It is an oath before God, family, and friends to each other. It's an oath that you can't just break. Until death do you part. It's good, of course, that there is a divorce. Don't you need me anymore? Great. If you're stupid enough to want to leave, I'm smart enough to let you. I've already fought for you once. That's what dating and engagements are for. I won that fight when she said, I agree. I didn't have to fight for her again. Good. All the plans and decisions that I was thinking about had to be changed. I needed a completely new plan. I waited about 10 minutes after they left before starting the car and continuing on my way. I ended up at the sports bar, which was my original destination. I brought my notebook with me and chose a booth at the back of the room to have some privacy. I ordered a burger, beer, and bourbon from the waitress, then started making my plan. I wrote down the notes the way I thought. There were 4 columns. 1. What will happen to me? 2. What to do with my daughters? 3. What to do with it? 4. What to do with an asshole? First, did it really matter? Not particularly. There was a problem that made everything in this column controversial. I didn't have the opportunity to forgive and forget what my wife did. There could be no possible path to reconciliation. I also had no future with my daughters. Although I loved them with all my heart, I would never have been invited to their college graduation. I would never walk them down the aisle at their wedding. I would never put their children on my lap. Second, speaking of my daughters, I needed to be taken care of. Of course, they were adults now and could take care of themselves. However, I wanted them to succeed. There was still college to finish. Then they needed to gain experience before heading the firm. I also needed to make sure they had enough resources to support them until they were completely self-sufficient. If I could leave them more to make their lives better, that would be a bonus. The third, I gave her everything I had, and she returned the favor. Okay, she won't get anything else from me. Fourth, asshole, he took away one of the most valuable things I had. I would repay him by taking the most precious thing from him. As soon as the brainstorming session was completed, I started making a flowchart. For those of you who are not familiar with this, a flowchart is used in engineering to determine the path of decision-making or events. This is an if-then document. You start with the first step. This step has two results. If so, do it. Or if not, do that. It expands from here. The result of each step leads to the next step until the problem is solved. This can be used to logically solve almost any problem. It can also be used as a way to identify possible problems and solve them in advance, as well as anticipate possible obstacles so that they can be eliminated. 4 hours later, 3 beers and 2 double bourbons, I had the outline of my plan. Yes, I probably shouldn't have done that, but I drove back to the office. I was far from intoxicated. I drank 5 glasses in 4 hours, so I wasn't that bad. And yet I probably exceeded the limit. I have a small room in my office with a bed and an adjoining bathroom. It was convenient for those long evenings when I didn't have a deadline and had to work late. It wasn't unheard of for me to take advantage of it, but it wasn't a common occurrence. I was planning a long night and just slept in the office. The next morning, I got up and continued to implement my plans. By noon, I had everything planned out in the form of detailed steps. By the end of the day, I had reviewed every step, detail by detail, and revised as minor problems were discovered. I decided that I have 30 days to take care of everything before the last step. I stayed 2 hours later than usual, rearranging my steps according to the deadlines before heading home. By this time, I had enough control over my emotions to behave as usual. I also made up a cover story to explain to my wife why I was so exhausted and what the doctor said. In fact, I was going to tell her that age and overwork are starting to take their toll. He wanted me to cut back on my job a bit and exercise more. I managed to have a normal evening at home. I didn't have to pretend to be tired. I was really tired. Kim tried to be affectionate, but I was just too exhausted from the mental strain and the fitful sleep of last night. She asked about a project I was working on, and I gave her some nonsense about the design depending on the time in which the parameters changed. She had never really been involved in the company's work, so I could tell her almost anything, and she would believe me. I got up early the next morning. I needed to set up some meetings and talk to people. I should probably point out here that the business, like most of everything we owned, was registered only in my name. Yes, we started the business after we got married, but I had the income and authority. The company was created as an individual entrepreneur. I was the owner. Kim's name was not in any of the documents. As for our house, again, the property and mortgage were issued only in my name. It was easier that way. Kim had no income, so she would only downgrade her credit rating. It didn't matter to either of us at the time because we were planning to spend the rest of our lives together. Even if something had happened to me, Kim would have been the heir. I even made a will stating this. By the end of the week, I had signed and notarized the new will. I also hired a private investigator to observe my wife and gather more evidence of what she was doing. I had no doubts, but the girls will need more concrete evidence. It was a simple step. The next few steps will be a little more complicated and will require the help of lawyers and business professionals. "Carly, how is my beloved sister doing today?" I asked when she answered the phone. "Damn it, I'd better be your favorite sister since I'm the only sister you have, asshole." She replied, "What do you want?" "What do I want? I am deeply offended that you immediately assume that I want something when I call you." Yes. When you start a conversation with this favorite shit, you always want something. What's it?" "Well, apart from your sarcastic remarks, I really want to see my beloved and most beautiful sister. It's been a long time, and I thought you might want me to buy you lunch today." "Oh, shit. It's worse than I thought. Beloved, beautiful, and you buy. Wait until I look up at the sky and see if the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are approaching." My sister and I got along very well. We were practically all we had left after our parents died. She divorced her cheating husband about 5 years ago. She has since returned to school and received an MBA degree. She was currently working as an account manager at a manufacturing firm in the city. They were one of my clients. In truth, she was too smart for the position, and she only needed experience and time before she became vice president. If she had earned an MBA and started working with them right after college, she could have become CEO by that point. Instead, she married this jerk and quit her job for a while. "Seriously, Care, I really need your help. I need to see you today. Take the whole day off and meet me at the Hammerheads at 11 o'clock. There was desperation in my voice, and I'm sure she heard a crack in it. "Oh shit. It's bad, isn't it? It's worse than you can imagine. Please come." "Of course, big brother, I'll be there. Not only are you my older brother, but we both know that I owe you everything for what you've done for me." "You don't owe me anything, sis. I did what I did because you're my family. You needed help, and I just did what a family does." Okay, then this time I'll do what the family does. I was at the same table in the far corner when she came in. The hostess pointed in my direction and she came and sat down opposite me. Do you have to come back today? I asked. No, you asked me to take the afternoon off, which I did, she replied. After hearing this, I made our order to the waitress. I knew what she liked, so I just ordered for both of us. Bourbon at this hour? Damn, this must be the apocalypse. Almost, I replied. All right, Carly. Here it is. You know that I've been wanting you to come and work for me for a long time. I understand that you want to be on your own and earn your own way. You think that working for your family will look like nepotism. It's just not true. You are very good at what you do, and you are underestimated where you work. I really need you now. Listen, Dan, I appreciate your offer, I really do. I'm just not sure how it's going to work. I know we get along great, but what would change if you became my boss? I've heard terrible stories about family members going to work for their relatives. I sighed. All right, sis. I didn't want to do it this way, but I'm desperate. When I said that I needed you to work for my company, it wasn't an exaggeration. I need you to do more than just come to work at my firm. I need you to take over as CEO. I need you to run the firm, at least until Gina and Sue are ready for it. I need you to be their mentor and prepare them for this. When they turn 30, you can start transferring responsibilities if you feel that they are ready. Gina will most likely take over as Chief Operating Officer and Sue will become CEO. By then, you'll be able to retire or work as a consultant from time to time. Dan, you're kind of starting to bother me. If I take over your firm and train your daughters to become executives when they graduate, what will you do? I couldn't help but notice that you missed that part. That's why I wanted you to just accept my offer. I didn't want to go into details right now. I was hoping to tell you differently. Now I have to blame you for that. I sighed. Carly, I learned 2 things a week ago, both on the same day. No one else knows this, but I'm dying. I have pancreatic cancer. They can't do anything. I'll be lucky if I live another 6 months. It's probably more like 3 or 4 months. Things will quickly go downhill. Another thing is that Kim is cheating on me with at least one of the students at the college where she teaches. I'll handle the girls, and you'll be the trustee of the estate. Kim won't get a damn thing. Everything is being processed into trusts, which you will manage with the help of my lawyer. I have already drawn up a will stating this. I transferred ownership of the company, which is owned by you, Gina, and Sue. I sold the house to the firm, so now it also belongs to the company. I need you to warn me about this at work, then start spending a few hours every evening and sometime on weekends in my office for the next 2 weeks. We will use this time to bring you up to date so that you can start working as soon as you leave your current job. I'll still be there to help for a week or 2, but no longer than that. We sat in silence for a while. She was trying to come to terms with what I had just told her, and I was waiting for her to digest it. Our food was brought and we ate in silence. While the waitress was collecting our empty plates, Carly asked her for another portion of bourbon. You're a bastard for putting me in this position, she finally said. Of course I will do it. You don't give me much choice. I know, I'm sorry. Trust me, I wish I didn't have to do this. There are a couple more things I need you to do too, but we'll talk about that later. Am I going to be mad about these other things? She asked with a smile. You have no idea how, I replied. So we spent the rest of the day discussing the firm and what it needed to do to prepare. She wasn't an engineer, but her role was mostly on the business side of things. I informed her that I would promote one of my senior engineers to help her with this side of the case. We returned to my office, where we started going through the bills and other information she would need. Before we went home, she used my computer to quickly write a letter of resignation from her job. By this point, events had begun to develop rapidly. Every day I felt like I was getting more exhausted. I spent long days in the office taking care of the company, and in the evenings I taught Carly. We also spent several hours in the office on both weekends. Kim started to worry about how exhausted I was. I'd come home, have a quick snack, and then pass out in bed. Kim tried to talk to me about how I work long hours. I explained that I had a couple of large, time-consuming projects in the works, but everything would be completed in about 2 more weeks. I told her that I was also making a few changes that would take most of the burden off me, but I needed to take the time now so that everything would go smoothly later. She wasn't happy, but she seemed to understand. It was Friday, Carly's last day at her old job, and she will officially take over on Monday. The private investigator had finished his work, and I was sitting in his office looking through the results, She really had an affair with a football player. 3 times a week, they left campus and went to a motel. There were even photos and a short video shot through an open curtain. There was no doubt that they were making love. I thanked him and paid the rest of the bill. He gave me paper documents and a USB flash drive. On Sunday evening, Carly and I ended up discussing everything so that she could get to work the next morning. It's been a long day and I felt it. I knew I had to finish things this week before I went too far to do it. All right, Carly. We've discussed most of what I need you to do. Starting at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, you will be in charge. We met with a lawyer and an accountant, and all the necessary signatures were notarized. Officially, you are responsible for all trusts and the company. I'm not going to tell you when, where, or what, but I need you to bail me out when my lawyer calls you. Damn it. You're going to do something stupid, aren't you? It's a matter of opinion, but probably. Okay, but murderers are not released on bail. No one is going to die. You don't have to worry about it. I want them to live and regret their actions. Damn it. So you don't want Kim to bail you out? Is it because you don't expect her to be able to do it? I'm not going to physically harm her. Still, I'm not sure she'll want to bail me out. Good. Wednesday. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was hiding behind a large SUV next to my wife's car on the driver's side. It was parked in the motel parking lot. I heard them talking as they walked back to the car. It had to be fast and furious. From the very beginning, he was much bigger than me. Then there was the fact that he possessed the strength and endurance of a high-level athlete. Then there was a small problem with the fact that I was deprived of strength and endurance due to my illness. I heard the car open when he pressed the key fob. He chuckled at something my wife said as she opened the passenger side door. I heard him open the driver's door and attack. I was already swinging the bat when I rounded the back of the SUV. Kim's eyes started to widen at the sight of me. She didn't even have time to shout a warning when my bat came down hard on her right arm, which was resting on the roof of the car. When the bat bounced off, I continued to move and hit him in the groin with an uppercut. He fell to the ground, trying to grab his shattered arm and severely damaged testicles at the same time. As he writhed on the asphalt, the bat hit each knee. Both kneecaps were crushed. Another blow to his testicles. Then I took up the elbows. I had just broken his right elbow when blinding pain shot through me. My whole body tensed, then convulsed before I lost consciousness. When I came to, I was lying face down on the sidewalk with my wrists chained behind my back. I found out that due to poor timing, a patrol car stopped on the street next to us just at the moment when I started my attack. The cops saw me jump out of the SUV and attack my wife's lover. They hit me with a stun gun, preventing this asshole from breaking his left elbow. When the ambulance arrived, 3 more patrol cars pulled up. As soon as I regained consciousness, I was escorted and put in the back seat of one of the cars. It was interesting for me to watch my hysterical wife give a very animated version of events to a rather attractive policewoman. In the end, I was taken to the police station and arrested. Of course, they put me in an interrogation room. They used the usual psychological techniques. They left me alone for an hour or two. A good cop is a bad cop. It's bullshit that everything will be fine if I just confess, etc. Seriously? Did they want recognition? Why? Unfortunately, these tricks only work with those who actually care what happens to them. I already knew what was going to happen. I was going to die, and there wasn't a damn thing that could change that. The district attorney had a hopeless case, and she knew it. She also had a huge backlog of cases due to the coronavirus affecting judges, jurors, and other support staff. Why waste time on this? The outcome was a foregone conclusion. She made an offer. My lawyer introduced him to me. I refused. So we're back to the beginning of this story. Are you crazy? That was my lawyer, Donald Jenkins. They have a literally impenetrable case. There are probably a dozen witnesses, including your wife, not to mention very clear video recordings from not 1, not 2, but 3 separate surveillance cameras. And all this, damn it, in broad daylight. Your fingerprints and DNA are on all the weapons you used. Your motive is very well documented. It doesn't even mention that the police actually caught you red-handed and their video cameras showed you attacking him. Yeah, these are all very good points. I could understand why he thought I might be crazy if I refused the plea bargain I was being offered. I plead guilty and get 5 years with another 5 years probation, or I will be found guilty in court and there is a chance that the judge will sentence me to 15, 20 years. On the other hand, if I were a normal, intelligent person, I probably wouldn't be in this situation at all. Firstly, it would have been better if I hadn't actually committed the crime. And if I had, I would have acted much smarter and at least tried to cover my tracks. No, I did it, and I didn't care who found out about it. Listen to me. You hired me to represent you and advise you. I'm telling you that you don't stand a chance in court. The district attorney is only offering this deal because of the backlog of court cases. By making this deal with you, you get rid of the costs and time for a trial that is not necessary. My best advice is to take the deal. You won't enjoy it. No lawyer in the world can save you from this. I can't even offer any protection. If we get to court, all I can do is sit next to you and watch the district attorney crucify you. I don't even have anything to justify my decision with. As soon as the prosecution finishes, I'll just drop my case too. I can't even call a single witness in your defense. You're finished. The only thing you can do is mitigate this disaster as much as possible by serving as little time as possible. Going to court will cost you a hell of a lot of money just to make things worse for yourself. So, lawyer, when will the trial take place? How long will it last, and how long after that before sentencing? I asked. His eyes kind of glazed over as he tried to come to terms with the fact that I just didn't care. Due to the coronavirus, the actual trial will take place in about 6 months. Before that, there will be an arraignment, a hearing on the charges, a hearing on the evidence. I'll file motions that need to be heard, and the district attorney will file motions and a few other things. All I can do is try to delay the trial, but that won't change anything. Great. You need to call my sister and tell her what my bail will be. She's going to bail me out. It won't be cheap. Not your problem. Also send her your bills. She will definitely take care of them. He's gone. I'm sure he was thinking about doing a psychiatric evaluation on me. Perhaps there could be an admission of insanity. It suited me fine. I had no problem paying him more money for trying his best, not that it really mattered. Kim surprised me by actually coming to visit me. I was still in prison. I was charged and given bail. Carly was supposed to bail me out, but she was a little upset about the massacre. She would have helped me out, but first she wanted me to cool off for a couple of days. I'm sorry, she began. Good. It really didn't mean anything to me. There was really no romance or feelings. It was easy. Love? I finished for her. Yes. He was just so big and strong. He had that confidence that just captures the whole room. And yes, he was bigger than you and got aroused much faster. Congratulations, I'm glad he was able to make you happy. She was definitely not happy right now. She began to sob, then abruptly stood up and ran out. Well then, I was released on bail the next day. Carly picked me up and drove me back to the office. Well, if you wanted to ruin his life, you did it. He will never play sports again, even for fun. His right arm is shattered. They expect him to recover at best only 50% of her usage. Both knees are destroyed. He'll be able to walk again, but that's all. His elbow will never fully flex either, she said after we sat down in her office. So I did it. Why such a massacre? It's simple. He took away one of the most valuable things I had. I decided to repay him in kind. He took my wife away from me. I took away his football game. An eye for an eye. The future is for the future. You realize they're going to sue, don't you? Sue? Whom and for what? Are they going to sue me? I'll be dead long before the case goes to trial. If they try to seize my property, they will find that I do not have it. All I have at the moment is a couple $1,000s, which I can live on for another couple of months. They can sue as much as they want, but they have nothing to recover. They can't pursue the firm because I've already quit it. They can't harass girls because they are of legal age and on their own. The only person they can hunt is Kim, and I really don't care. Besides, she doesn't have the money to pay them either. Good. So, what's your plan at the moment? It's simple. I'm going to die. I refused the deal that was offered to me. It'll be a couple of months before the case goes to trial, and by then I'll be gone. You really need to talk to your daughters. They need to know, and they're really worried about what you've done. I was planning to do it tonight. Actually, you can do it in a few minutes. They're on their way. I've reserved a conference room for you for the rest of the day. Half an hour later, I was sitting across from my 2 daughters at a conference room table. Dad, what the fuck? The video of you hitting that kid with a baseball bat is all over the news. And what the hell was Mom doing there? Gina asked. I pushed the folder towards them. Your mom was there because they had just left the motel room where they were making love. He was your mom's lover. These are documents from a private investigator I hired. Did you know that he was a star football player at the university and that he was expected to be drafted in the 1st or 2nd round? You ruined his career. Yes, I knew that. I did it on purpose. He took the love of my life, so I took what he loves. But now he's going to sue you for everything you have, and you're going to jail for a long time. Neither of these things will happen. First, I made sure that I had nothing to lose. I don't have any assets that anyone can take away. The company is no longer registered in my name. Now it belongs to a company in the name of Carly and you. All the money is in trust funds for the two of you. The house is actually in trust funds in your names. You own everything. Carly is the executor of the trust. Your mother doesn't have access to any of this. What you do for her is no longer my concern. Is there any chance that you can make peace before you go to prison? There's no chance at all, and I've already said that I won't go to jail. Dad, be realistic. There's no way you won't be judged. We've watched all the shows about it and looked at all the articles. You can't get away with what you've done. I can't get away with this. I'm not even trying. My emotions overwhelmed me from the moment my beautiful daughters entered the room. It suddenly hit me like a truck hit. I wouldn't have been there for their college graduation. I wouldn't be there to walk them down the aisle at their weddings. I would never be able to hug my grandchildren. I was sobbing. I felt the presence of two people next to me, and they held me with their arms around me. Oh my God, what's wrong, Daddy? Susan asked. I'm dying, little ones. I have a really severe form of cancer. I have 2 months left at best. They both screamed. I suddenly felt someone hug the three of us behind me. I looked and saw tears running down Carly's cheeks. The four of us sat and cried for a few more minutes until we could get our emotions under control. Finally, I sat the girls back down in their chairs. As you can see, I will be gone long before my trial begins. Besides, I'll be dead before any trial even starts. Once I'm gone, they won't be able to get anything out of me. Everything I had was disposed of long before the attack. They can't even seize the house because I sold it to the company. The money from the sale went to the trust. This trust will be available to you when you turn 30. I have no assets. I cashed out all my investments and donated them to charity. Why didn't you tell us about this before? Gina asked. I found out about it about a month ago. Right after I left the doctor's office, I saw your mother's car driving away from the university. Her lover was driving and she was in the passenger seat. I followed them to the motel they went to. I watched them enter the room, then waited about 2 hours for them to leave. I was devastated. Not only did I find out that I had only a few months left to live, but I also discovered that the love of my life was cheating on me. I spent the next 2 days planning what I would do. Here is the end result of this planning. We talked and cried together for another hour. Then it was time for business again. I invited Carly for this. We discussed the new organizational structure of the company. When Gina finishes her studies, she will start working with engineers. She will participate in all projects and attend management meetings. As soon as she gets a PE license, she will be provided with her own projects to manage. Over time, she will start helping Carly run the company. It is hoped that by the time Gina turns 30, she will be able to take over as Chief Operating Officer. As for Sue, she will become Carly's assistant when she graduates. She will work side by side with Carly in the business part of the firm. Sue will take over as CEO when she is ready. With Gina doing the operations and Sue doing the business, everything should work out well. Carly will also be available for consultations and an arbitrator between the two of them. It was a week later. I lived with my sister and haven't spoken to Kim since she visited me in prison. I was sitting on the couch in Carly's living room. A bright light was shining on me, and a rather attractive red-haired girl was sitting opposite me. Good morning. This is Amy Brown from Crap News. I'm here with Dan Malloy, who has been charged with grievous bodily harm during a brutal attack on a star player. Mr. Malloy has kindly agreed to an interview. She headed for the cameras, then she turned to me. Mr. Malloy, I'm really surprised that you're giving an interview. Are you not concerned about the judge's decision not to disclose information about this case? It doesn't bother me at all. There's really not much he can do about it. By the time it goes on the air and he sees it, there's nothing he can do about it. But he can charge you with contempt of court and put you in jail. I laughed. Well, I really despise the divorce laws in this country. Look at them. A wife can cheat on her husband as much as she wants. If her husband tries to divorce her, she will receive children, a house, child support, and maintenance. She usually gets most of the other assets as well. The poor bastard who married her ends up living in a cheap apartment, eating top-quality ramen, giving most of his income to his ex-wife for parties with her string of lovers. They reward traitors and punish those who have done nothing wrong. Aren't you afraid of going to jail? Not in the least. And what about the long prison sentence that you expect? First of all, I was not actually convicted of anything. In our country, there is always the principle of innocent until proven guilty. Yes, but you must agree that there is irrefutable evidence against you. Yes, I am aware of this. I'm not the least bit worried about it. Good. I can't wait to find out how you can be so sure about this. But what about Jamal's lawsuit against you? I understand that he is demanding more than $40 million in compensation for lost income, pain, and suffering. Not to mention a lifetime of physical maintenance. Blood from the stone. That's not going to happen. There's nothing to charge me. I am unemployed and homeless. I have no assets. But you have a successful engineering firm and a huge house. No, it's not like that. I sold the business and the house more than a month ago. Everything I owned, I invested in trust funds to ensure that my children would be taken care of if something happened to me. It was all completely legal and ethical. All taxes have been properly paid. I cashed out all my investments and gave everything to charity. I don't even have a salary to steal it from. Good. Let's get back to the attack. You've never denied that you did it, but you've never said why. Why did you attack him, and why so viciously? It seems that you deliberately targeted those areas that would destroy any chance of an NFL career. Oh, that was definitely my goal. If the police hadn't used a taser on me, I would have crushed his other elbow, and then added a couple more good punches to the crotch before stopping. It was never my intention to kill him, just to cripple and destroy his balls. The attempted murder charge brought by the district attorney is a joke. His death was never my intention. In fact, I tried my best to avoid blows that could have killed him. If I had wanted to do that, my first blow would have hit him on the head, not on the arm. So why did you attack him in the first place? Isn't it obvious? Where did the attack take place? In the parking lot of the motel. Who was with him? My wife. They had an affair. They had just left the room they had been in for 2 hours. I decided that if he could take away the most precious thing in my life, my soulmate, I would take away the most important thing in his life, his football career. Making him impotent was just an added bonus. I understand. You have certainly achieved your goal. What about your wife? After all, it takes two to tango. Are you planning to take revenge on her in any way? Yes, but I won't reveal it now. I won't use any physical violence against her, so you don't have to worry about it. My revenge for her betrayal will be perfectly legitimate. Oh, she's going to suffer a lot, but there's nothing she can do about it. Actually, what I planned has already been done, but she doesn't know about it yet. When will she find out? When will this interview air? Good. Let's get back to your upcoming prison sentence. I'm not in danger of that. I still haven't been convicted by the court. Okay then. How about we get back to the question of your probable conviction and jail time? This question is much better. So why are you so sure that you will not be convicted and sent to prison? Let me start by telling you about the events of the day that happened a little over a month ago. I felt very tired and exhausted for a while, so I went to the doctor to get checked out. About a week later, I came to find out the results. They were not good. I had just left the doctor's office when I saw my wife's car leaving the university campus. I thought it was weird because Jamal was driving her car and Kim was in the passenger seat. I followed them to the motel and waited a few hours for them to come out. A couple of points should be noted here. Kim is a certified university lecturer. In fact, she is part of the faculty. Even as a volunteer, she still obeys the rules of the faculty when it comes to student relations. As a tutor, she has power over her students, just like one of their professors. I remember going to Cancun once, where I met a couple of female college professors. They were both single and looking for college guys to spend a week with. While we were talking, I mentioned that, in my opinion, the relationship between professors and students was illegal because of the authority that professors held. They laughed and said, "The law doesn't say we can't use students. It only says we can't use our students." Well, Jamal was one of Kim's students. So back to your question. After seeing them together, I hired a private investigator to get hard evidence of what I saw. I also started taking measures according to what the doctor told me. Initially, these measures were supposed to include taking care of Kim. After what I saw, I just crossed out that part of the plans. Now everything I did was to ensure that my daughters were taken care of. They were always going to end up running the business, and I just made it official. I also hired a really good businesswoman to act as CEO, and prepare the girls to take over when they are ready. I also transferred the company from an individual entrepreneur to an LLC, and also transferred authority on my behalf. All the money I had has now been transferred to a trust fund for girls, which is controlled by someone else. I also transferred ownership of my house to a trust fund as a gift to the girls. So, I'm not worried in the least about possible recriminations because I won't be around. The doctor told me that I have really aggressive pancreatic cancer. It's incurable. At best, I have 2 months left. It is more than likely that I will die within a month. My trial won't even start for another 3 months. What are they going to do? Put my corpse in a prison cell? As for my wife, I leave her with nothing. Perhaps our daughters will take pity on her and help her. It's not my concern anymore. In addition, documents proving her affair with a student will be sent to the university council, as well as to the relevant law enforcement agencies. I also have a copy for you if you want. I must inform you that copies will also be sent to all major media outlets. You just ruined their lives. Don't you think that was a little too much? Not in the least. They ruined my life, or what's left of it. Imagine that you were told the worst possible news, and all you wanted was for your spouse to comfort you. Instead, in less than half an hour, you discover that your spouse is cheating on you. Yes, I'm going to die soon, but they took away my chance to get comfort from my wife in my last days. They ruined the rest of my life, so I ruined them. At least they'll be alive and able to try to rebuild everything. Oh yes, Jamal. He's in college, so he can use his degree and pursue another career. This is ridiculous. In case you didn't know, Jamal is far from a model student. In fact, the university has already launched an investigation against him, and they have already found out that he retained the right to play only because he forced some other teachers to write essays and do homework for him. Most likely, he will be expelled, and all classes that he has already passed will be replaced with unsuccessful ones if evidence of deception is found. He won't get a degree, and he won't be accepted to any other college in the country. Maybe he can at least be an example to all the other scumbags who like to seduce married women. I shrugged my shoulders. Good, that's all we have at this point. Thank you for agreeing to this interview. This is Amy Brown from Crap News. Amy gathered up her notes and stood up. She shook my hand and handed me a note before leaving. After she left, a stunning blonde came in and sat next to her. In a few minutes, she was ready, and the dazzling light came on again. This is Jessica Moore from Cunt News. I'm her... The judge would have been seriously pissed off when these interviews aired. I decided it was best to do them all in one day before he could do anything. Anyway, it was my last day of freedom. It didn't really matter where I was tomorrow. If he wanted to put me in jail for contempt of court, it would cost him a tidy sum. My lawyer would have taken care of that. Well, that's pretty much the end of it. I gathered the few forces I could still use before the first interview. By the end of the day, I was exhausted. Early the next morning, Carly took me to the hospice, where I was supposed to stay until everything was over. Yes, the judge disrespected me. He was about to send the police to take my ass to jail when my lawyer and doctor informed him that I would need to be placed in the infirmary due to my health condition. The cost of this will be high. They also indicated that they would be sure to mention it in the media. Instead, he ordered me to have a tracking monitor on my ankle to make sure I didn't leave the hospice. I laughed. I had nowhere to go anyway. Carly and the girls visited me almost every day. I understood that they couldn't always come, but they were there when they could. Sometimes I was able to video chat with them for a while. They kept me up to date. Kim tried to visit me, but I crossed her off my list of visitors. She gave the girls letters to give to me. They handed them to me when they arrived, and I just threw them in the trash after they left. I wasn't interested in anything she said. The district attorney first tried to reschedule the court date. My lawyer resisted. It soon became apparent that it didn't matter. I wouldn't have been able to attend anyway. Then my lawyer launched a public campaign that the district attorney was wasting money and resources by pursuing a case in which the defendant would be dead before trial. Being reasonable, the district attorney quietly dropped the case. Yes, a lawsuit has been filed. In fact, it featured both Kim and me. Since we were still married, she would be responsible for my debts after my death. It made me laugh. My girls are here with me. Carly, too. I'm so exhausted. I can tell that this is the end. I don't want to fight it anymore. I have nothing left and there is no reason to continue. I see another person slowly walking into my room. Kim, my wife. I haven't seen her since she visited me in prison right after my arrest. Yes, I asked her to come. She nervously enters the room and sits down next to the bed. I'm sorry, she said. I know, I'm sorry too. I overdid it with you. No, you didn't do that. If you had left me anything, it would have just been taken away in a lawsuit. Besides, I'm the one who screwed up and had an affair. I forgive you for that. I asked the girls to take care of you. I don't want you to starve or be homeless. I forgive you too. It's probably for the best. This asshole will undoubtedly try to take everything I have. As long as I have a place to live and enough money to live on, everything will be fine. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to comfort you these past few months. That's all I've done. I will have to live with this regret for the rest of my life. Don't be too hard on yourself. I left you. I could just meet you face to face and get over it. Instead, I acted out of revenge. You did what you thought you should have done. You were justly angry. Please know this. I've never stopped loving you. I will love you until I die. When that happens, we will meet again, and I will love you forever. You're my soulmate. I forgot about it for a while, but I'm back. I can see that you're tired now. Sleep, my love. Go in peace. We'll meet again. Dad dozed off. We all stood there until his breathing slowly slowed down and finally stopped. The beeps of the phones turned into one tone and Dad left. I'm Gina. The last conversation was recorded by me. I found Dad's notebook after they came and took his body. I read what he wrote about the events of the last months of his life. After discussing this with Mom, Carly, and Sue, we decided that I should finish his story. Dad made an advance payment for his funeral. He also had a funeral account set up in case Mom needed it. The plots have also already been purchased. We decided to hold a private ceremony. It was only a family ceremony, but we agreed that 2 reporters could be present and shoot a video. We were adamant that they didn't make a scene. It was nice, and Amy and Jessica were very respectful. I have to giggle a little here because I later found out that Dad met with both reporters, separately, in a hotel room for a last fling before going to hospice. Jamal did file a lawsuit against Dad's estate. As you already know, he had no property to fight for. They tried to take over the business and trust funds, but we managed to dismiss these claims. Dad had nothing to do with the firm at the time of the attack, and the trust funds were inviolable. Besides, Carly, Sue, and I were not involved in any way. Mom didn't do it fair either. A decision was made against her to recover $20 million. Although she didn't have anything they could take away, the decision still stands. Sue and I hired Mom as a cook and housekeeper. She gets a free room and board. We make sure that she has enough cash for the entertainment she needs. Everything is legal and honest, at least as far as anyone has been able to prove. His lawyers snoop around from time to time. They are not paid until he can collect the money. He doesn't have the money to pay them. Being them sucks. Eventually, they will get tired of it and give up. At least, until the fact that Mom has a lot of money becomes known to the general public. However, her name is kept secret. She's suffered enough. There is no point in adding anything else to this. Mom doesn't really go on dates. She communicates with groups of her friends. Sometimes she doesn't come home until the next morning. None of them are serious, just friends with privileges. She is adamant that she will never have a serious relationship again. She will remain free until she meets her dad again. As for Jamal, he lives with his parents. His bedroom is on the ground floor because he doesn't know how to use the stairs very well. He was expelled, as expected, and refused to even think about going to another school. He just sits and plays video games, waiting for the money to be brought to him. That's probably why his parents put up with him, although I've heard mutterings about them getting tired of waiting. Jamal may soon be faced with a choice: be evicted or start acting. So here's how things are at the moment. Sue and I have really taken over the firm, and Aunt Carly sometimes drops by to help. She is now retired and living a good life. She even takes her mom on a cruise a couple of times a year. Sue has a steady boyfriend right now, and it looks pretty serious. As for me, well, I haven't found a single guy who looks like Mr. Right, although there are several mistresses who are now Miss Correctness, one of which may soon lose the last word in the title. Her name is Amy, and she's a local news reporter. End.